Welcome back to Louisiana. The IBA Super Cruiserweight Championship at stake here on ESPN's Championship Boxing. Orlin Norris defends his title against Nate Mr. Miller. Welcome back, everybody, to the Grand Casino. I'm Bob Papa. Well, tonight's bout is a rematch between Orlin Norris and Nate Mr. Miller. They squared off in 1995. Nate Miller, the WBA Cruiserweight champion. He won that title against Orlin Norris, 5-1 in championship fights with 5 knockouts in his career. And the Philadelphia native would like to take away Norris's championship. Orlin Norris, the former WBA Cruiserweight champion of the world, comes in looking to avenge their loss in 1995. Should be a dandy. Al Bernstein takes a look at the first meeting between these two.
In July of 1995, Orlin Norris prepared to defend his WBA Cruiserweight title versus a tough Philadelphia fighter, Nate Mr. Miller.
That first night, I was very hungry. You know, I wanted a championship. I knew that I could get a championship if I went out there and fought like I wanted that championship. You know, I'm a big puncher. The boxing world know that now.
My strategy leading up to the fight was I was just going to stay on top of him, you know, because I fought him in the amateurs, you know, and I knew that all I had to do was stay on top of him. And I figured I'd wear him down, and I didn't think the fight would go, you know, probably past 6 or 7 rounds. I figured I'd just take him out.
But no sooner had the bout begun, the champion, who had lost 30 pounds for the fight, realized that the task at hand would be difficult.
When we got to the fight with Nate Miller, I was very weak, you know. I knew in the first round we came out, I didn't have the energy, you know. I threw a jab and I didn't feel any speed or anything on it, you know, so I knew I was going to be in for a long fight.
I had seen Orlin fight, and I figured Orlin was a slow starter, so I had to go out there and get on him early.
Miller jumped on Norris early, trying to land big overhand rights. Miller won the first round in a fight that would be fought almost exclusively on the inside for the first 6 rounds. After 7 rounds, all 3 judges had Norris ahead in a close fight, but the champ was beginning to wonder how much gas he had left in the tank.
In the fight, you know, I did what I had to do. You know, I was winning the fight easily, but, you know, still the energy wasn't there, you know, and I just didn't know at that time how long I was going to be able to last.
He knew what kind of fighter I was going into the fight. He knew he couldn't underestimate me, and he had to be on the lookout for this devastating right hand.
The 8th round would be the last, as the champion succumbed to the challenger's barrage. And it was all punctuated by a very big right hand.
When I became world champion, it was just like unbelievable, like a dream come true. I mean, it seemed like I accomplished a lot in a short period of time, and you know, I felt almost like the president of the United States of America.
Well, Mr. Miller never went to Washington, but rather to Florida, Ireland, and Nevada, where he successfully defended the title 4 times before losing it to Fabrice Tiozzo in his last outing in November. Norris continued on as a heavyweight, going 4-1, the loss in a title eliminator, before claiming the newly created IBA Super Cruiserweight title this past May. Norris is experienced in rematches, sweeping a pair 3 times and dropping a pair once. But Miller, who came up short in both fights against Al Cole, feels that regardless of the stats, he has the advantage in this rematch.
I think I can go out there and beat Norris again. I mean, you know, at 41 time, I have a psychological advantage because I knocked him out the first time. So, you know, I think I can go out there and upset him again.
In addition to defending his IBC title and keeping his name in world title contention, Norris's motivation boils down to one word: pride.
I think he feels that, you know, he's going to come back and do the same thing he did. It's going to be a repeat, you know. And I just want him to know in his heart, you know, when we get old and talk about this way down the road, you know, he'll say, you know, I know I got lucky that night that I beat you and took the title from you.
Al, here comes Orlin Norris. We saw him win the title on May the 22nd in Monroe, Michigan on ESPN's Championship Boxing. A 12-round win against Adolfo Washington. He's got a lot of mileage on him, though.
You know, at the age of 32, Orlin Norris, some might say maybe he's had a lot of tough fights, and he has had some, but, you know, his defensive skills have probably made it so that he didn't take quite as many punches as some other guys. And I'll tell you what, with all the weight divisions created in boxing, and I'm opposed to creating new ones, if there ever was one, though, that was perfect for Orla Norris, it is the super cruiserweight division. It's just perfect for him.
Says he can never get down to 190 pounds again. What about Nate Mr. Miller, the challenger tonight? We mentioned at the top of the show a 269-day layup. What about the weight factor? This is heavy for him.
He has never weighed 203 pounds for a fight. He has never weighed close to 203 pounds. That's what he weighs tonight. Will it slow him down? Or will he bring more power to this? He's got a very good right hand, but really we have to say honestly, a big reason why that right hand knocked Norris down in the last fight is because he was very tired.
Well, we'll find out how Orla Norris does in the rematch against Nate Miller. We're set for our main event. Let's send it up to Mark Bureau.
Ladies and gentlemen, Top Rank Incorporated, in association with Grand Casino of Hoyos and Budweiser, the undisputed, undefeated king of beers, this Bud's for You presents ESPN's main event of the evening, 12 rounds for the IBA Super Cruiserweight Championship of the World. Ring officials assigned by the International Boxing Association, the president in attendance, Cy Young great Dean Chance, World Ratings Chairman, the Honorable Norm Logden. Your judges at ringside, all from Louisiana, from Desperahan, Elmo Adolph, from Folsom, Paul Ceda, and from Franklin, Kenny Sanchez. Your referee for this event, from Metairie, Johnny Femia Jr. Here now are the principals. First in the red corner to my right, wearing the dark blue trunks with gold trim. He weighs in at 203.5 pounds. His professional record reads 30 victories, 5 defeats, 26 wins coming by way of knockout. He hails from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here is the challenger, Nate Mr. Miller. His opponent in the blue corner, wearing the black trunks with the white trim. He weighs in at 208.75 pounds. His professional record reads 48 victories, 5 defeats. He also has 26 wins coming by way of knockout. He hails from Lubbock, Texas, the IBA Super Cruiserweight Champion of the World, Orla Norris. 12 rounds for the IBA Super Cruiserweight Championship of the world.
Gentlemen, you were given your pre-fight instructions in the dressing room. Again, I caution you to obey my commands at all times. Protect yourselves at all times. Both trunks are about the same. This is going to be a legal blow right here. Any questions? Let's come out boxing.
So we're set for tonight's main event between Orla Norris and Nate Miller. Norris giving away 3.5 inches in height. 16 of his 26 knockouts for Norris have come within the first 3 rounds. For Miller, he has 7 knockouts past the 6th round. Round number 1 underway, scheduled for 12.
The hands free, guys. Get the hands free. Come on.
You see the first round knockouts. Norris with the 7. 7 of those 26.
You mentioned the height that Norris was giving. Oh, I'm sorry, Bob. Did I interrupt you?
No.
Okay. Guess I wouldn't want to do that. You mentioned the 3-inch height disadvantage. That is nothing for Orla Norris. How about his fight against Henry Akinwande, who came in at 6'8" and gave up almost a full foot. So for Norris, he is so used to as a heavyweight facing that. And that was one of the reasons when he became a cruiserweight that he looked so dominating in those fights.
Norris in championship fights, 5-1 with 3 knockouts. 1 lost by way of knockout. That to Nate Miller for the WBA title. Miller 5-2 with 5 knockouts. Made a bid for the IBF title in '94. Lost to Al Cole in a 12-round decision. Then won the WBA title against Norris. Defended it 4 times and then lost in his last bout.
We showed that Al Cole bout on ESPN, and Miller just wasn't aggressive enough. And that's been maybe the rap on him during the parts of his boxing career where he didn't get the big wins. And as we mentioned, you know, early in this bout, he's in off this layoff. Is this a time in the bout where Norris can can get something done and surprise him.
Despite the fact that they turned professional in 1996, Norris in June and Miller in September, Norris has 53 professional bouts to Miller's 35. And Norris with 172 more rounds of action. So he is, at the age of 32, been around the track and around and around and around again.
And he's been very active, but one of the things that makes him not an old 32 is his defense has always been so good, even when he was facing the heavyweights, that he just doesn't get hit that much.
Good job.
Of course, Orlin himself has not been that active. In 97, he had only the one fight against Henry Akinwande, losing in 12, and so far this year has had one against Adolfo Washington.
Norris, the brother of former junior middleweight champion Terry Norris.
Norris trying to get that left hook in here, but it's just off. And, you know, Nate Miller's done a pretty good job here in round one of counterpunching.
Final seconds of round one. This one is scheduled for 12. The IBA Super Cruiserweight Championship, Norris and Miller. Fans enjoying ESPN Championship Boxing at the Grand Casino of Oils in Marksville, Louisiana. Bob Papa along with Al Bernstein. We begin round number 2 of this scheduled 12-round IBA Super Cruiserweight title bout between Orlin Norris and Nate Miller. Punch numbers in round 1.
Orlin Norris getting the job done. Miller throwing a lot more, and that's an interesting round in which, because he throws through so many, you could be misled.
Miller much more aggressive here in round 2, digging to the body and scoring to the head against Norris. Norris has been knocked out twice in his career by Nate Miller, as chronicled, and by Bert Cooper back in 1990.
That at a time when Bert had plenty of power. And the reason he's been knocked out so little is that he is good at slipping punches, Norris, good at blocking punches, and knows how to use his height to his advantage.
Come on, guys, let's go. Get the hands free. Get your hands free.
Miller was recently married back in March to his girlfriend Trilita. He said that married life keeps him honest. Says he'd like to fight 3 more times after tonight. Get a rematch get a fight with Robert Daniels and retire from there.
Daniels has a WBU Cruiserweight Championship that he won from Don Diego Puder. You know, this bout so far has not been as pleasing as you would expect it to be. They've been on the inside but not able to land real clean punches. This is just the way their first bout went as far as the place it's being fought. It's really where Norris wants it, and yet not able to get quite as much done as he would like.
They're not using much of this spacious ring.
Miller doing a lot of holding. Johnny Fumiya may start cautioning him against that.
Miller had a very good start to this round, letting his hands go. But he's not using his height and reach here.
Get off his arm, Nate. Get off his arm.
Though Orlin is in close, that's kind of where he wants it to be. He's a little too close. He's not able to get leverage on those punches. And Miller is doing a pretty good job of smothering them. There you saw Norris jab his way in. He's really not been doing that, and that's always been an important part of his attack.
Well, a sluggish round number 2 as Miller rips off the right hand. Scheduled for 12 on ESPN's Championship Boxing.
In theory, the inside fighting should help Orlin Norris, but not when Nate Miller does things like that. Throws a really good uppercut with a lot of leverage on the punch.
So we begin round number 3 of this scheduled 12-round bout. Orlin Norris defending his IBA Super Cruiserweight Championship against Nate Miller. There are the punch numbers 3-2.
Norris with the overall edge. He had a pretty big edge in round 1, and Nate Miller not landing at a very good percentage here.
So if you're just tuning in and you're saying, what are super cruiserweights? Well, cruiserweight is 190 pounds. Norris weighed in at 208. Miller at 203. That would be heavyweights.
They're really small heavyweights. And, you know, Orlin Norris's comment on it is he said, I'm not a cruiserweight. I'm not a big heavyweight. I'm a small heavyweight. And when I can fight guys that are even close to my size, I can always do well and beat some of the bigger ones. So he loves the concept of this, though I think most of us would agree that what boxing needs, like a hole in the head, is another weight division or another organization sanctioning a champion. For the first time, Norris throwing a combination with a powerful punch behind it. And now, actually, Norris is doing himself better service by giving himself a little more punching room, even though that's where the Miller right hand could be dropped in.
You know, we talked about the weights. It's amazing how the weights and the heavyweights have changed over the years. What was the weight of Joe Frazier or Muhammad Ali when they first won the titles?
In the low 200s.
Right.
And, of course,
and even Evander Holyfield.
That's right. He was really a cruiserweight who moved up. And then when you look at the Marcianos and the Lewises in the 190s, Patterson, people like that. Norris trying to get away and throw combinations. Orlin's had a good round here. Nate Miller has been a little lethargic in the punches he's thrown. And Nate has not used the jab. They've been urging him. His people have worked with him to use the jab more. They feel it's a very important weapon for him. Jab, straight right hands, but he's not throwing them as much as I think they would like in this bout. To work on speed, Orlin Norris sparred a lot with former WBA junior middleweight and WBC light heavyweight champ Mike McCallum.
They each land a shot there, and then Miller adds a few more in for exclamation points. Ironically, in this round, it's Norris who's been effective with the jab. Come to the end of round 3, scheduled for 12, Norris and Miller.
This is what Nate Miller wants to get done. A jarring right hand. That is a beautiful right hand. But look, it doesn't even move Orlin Norris. See, there's the difference between the right hands landed by Miller in their last fight when Norris was very fatigued and had to drain to get down to the weight, and this time when he's bigger and not in that kind of condition.
There are the punch numbers in round 3. A pretty good round for Norris.
It continues the edge with Miller not landing at a good percentage. I have Norris winning 2 of the 3 rounds. You could make a case for him winning all 3.
They continue to grapple in the center of the ring.
Get off his head, Orlin. Get off his head. Get off free. Come on.
A lot of infighting, a lot of holding. Now, Orlin Norris made some changes in his corner in his last bout, and he tapped into a resource of a boxer from years gone by who was outstanding.
Cornelius Bose Edwards, you see him there, was added as a co-trainer with Orlin's dad, Orlin Norris Sr. For those of you that did not have a chance to see Edwards, he was a great junior lightweight and featherweight champion, a left-hander in some of the best fights of the 70s, and tremendous fighter.
And again, more turn.
A staple on network television in the afternoon when they had all those great fights. And Corny is very good at imparting knowledge to fighters.
Push up. Push him up, Orlin.
Let's see if some of that magic rubs off on Orlin Norris tonight. Al, the pace of this fight, it's been slow, it's been awkward, a lot of holding. Does it favor either man?
I don't think it does. Well, if it does favor anybody, it would be probably Nate Miller. But he's going to have to get busy. I mean, the pressure won't get to him if the pace is slow, but he's going to have to make some things happen from the outside to take advantage of it. See, here's Norris pushing him off, a good idea, so he can throw some of those shots. Nice hook by Miller. You know what has not been there, and I've been thinking about what's missing from Orlin Norris's attack? A good, solid left hook to the body and bringing it up to the head. Orlin Norris always had really good double left hooks, and in this fight, he's not showing it.
Guys, the hands are free. Let's go. Punching it.
Get some numbers through this round.
That's in round 4. So far, Orlin Norris with just a slight edge. There's the hook against Miller.
Things start to pick up here in the closing seconds of round 4. Scheduled for 12 on ESPN's Championship Boxing, Norris and Miller. There you get a look at 32-year-old Orlin Norris from Lubbock, Texas, fighting out of San Diego, defending his IBA Super Cruiserweight Championship against Nate Miller.
They told Nate Miller in between rounds, Nate, he's winning this fight. You don't want this to go to the distance because he's a busier fighter than you.
The punch numbers in round 4.
Miller ended up with a slight edge that we had shown you through 2 minutes how Norris was ahead, but Norris throwing really only 4 more punches in that round. Norris's accuracy with the overhand right and also the left hook has not been great, and that's been a detriment to him, even though he's, in my opinion, doing okay in this fight. A little better than Miller, but not much better.
They did not need a 21-foot ring for this fight.
No. Well, in their first bout, it was waged primarily on the inside. There's the body work. Again, Norris not going to the body as much as he normally would.
There he does.
Yeah.
Again on your cue.
He heard me. Orlin and his brother Terry both, they could be on the first brother team in boxing history to both win 50 fights. Norris has 48 wins and Terry has 47, and before they hang them up, they'd like to get to that mark. Terry, by the way, will be on ESPN against Dana Rosenblatt on September 25th. That should be a spectacular matchup.
Looking forward to seeing Terry. Right now, Orlin inside against Nate Miller. Neither man has been down. Neither man has been hurt.
Miller has been very inactive in this round. So he can pick up the pace as he did in the last round toward the end. It's not that Miller's punches have been that effective, but he's thrown so many more of them and done a lot of body work and smothered the punches of Miller. I don't think it behooves Nate Miller, though, to constantly fight that kind of fight against Norris. He needs some punching room if he's going to get that big right hand in. And he can't rely on the same thing happening that happened in the last fight where Norris just completely faded out. See, that's where Miller needs to be. Missed a lot of those punches, but at least that's the punching range for him.
Right. But it took him 2 minutes and 40 seconds to do it.
Get the hands out of there. Get the hands out. Get off his head. Get off his head.
Come to the end of round number 5. Orlin Norris and Nate Miller.
Step back. Let's go.
And here we take a look at Nate Miller getting better punching room, missing the right, did get the left hook in, but you see that's the place he wants to be. He threw 5 punches, 1 landed, but it was a good one.
Problem was it took him 2 minutes and 40 seconds to do that.
And you can't allow those rounds to fritter away like that.
He is coming off a long layoff, 269 days. Maybe that's having an effect. There are the numbers through 5 rounds.
Orlin Norris landing at about 34%. Many of those are body punches. So if the judges are accepting those as landed, they probably have Orlin Norris ahead. If they don't, they might not.
Left hook from the champion Norris.
There's the hook from Norris. Finally, he unloads that punch and throws it with some conviction. And Nate Miller is just letting Norris do what he wants here. Look, he looks like he's waiting to land one big right. Nate Miller is making a huge mistake if he thinks Norris is going to get as tired as he did the last time they fought. It's not going to happen.
take a look at Al's scorecard through 5 rounds.
I've got Norris ahead 49-46. He's really taken the fight to Miller and been more aggressive and, by and large, more accurate. Miller is here primarily thinking that he is a power puncher up in this weight division, the way he's fighting this bout, and I'm not sure that that's true, and I don't believe that that's the ticket for winning this fight for him. He's got to be a little more active. Nice little left hook on the inside by Miller, but again, these punches are few and far between. His trainers, Stan Williams and Eugene Pearson, who've been with him for almost 20 years, want more activity from Nate Miller and haven't gotten it.
Tate says that they're nicest when they're sleeping.
I think he's kidding.
Let him out there, Nate. Let him break.
Norris protecting his head from any errant shots or a possible butt.
They want jabs and straight right hands from Nate Miller. And boy, he's just not throwing them. He's just posing. Occasionally, he'll throw those punches. And Norris, we have to say, this is not his sharpest performance. He's definitely doing enough, in my opinion, to win. But it's not quite as sharp. I thought he was sharper against Adolfo Washington. Another good opponent. One thing you got to say about Orlin, he fights good guys.
Kind of right for Miller.
The hands free, guys. Work on that. Work on that. Come on now. Let him go, Nate. Let him go.
Approaching the final 10 seconds of round 6, the midway point of this bout. It is scheduled for 12 at stake. Norris's IBA Super Cruiserweight Championship. Norris and Miller on ESPN's Championship Boxing. Very nice venue here at the Grand Casino Voiles in Marksville, Louisiana. ESPN's Championship Boxing. Bob Papa along with Al Bernstein, Nate Miller, and Orlin Norris begin round 7 of the scheduled 12-round bout. And it has been controlled by Norris, but I think the story so far has been the lack of any type of jab from Miller and really his inactivity.
Yeah, he's not done much, and we mentioned coming in after the 9-month layoff, he has looked stale. Actually, in round 1, I thought he got off to a fairly decent start in this bout, good enough to let you know that he was going to be a little sharper, but boy, it has just not been there for him tonight.
And he had a pretty good round 2. You and I both thought he won that round, but since then it has been the four corners offense.
It's true.
Literally.
Yeah, he's not done much offensively. And he's got better distance now. Now Norris is staying on the outside a little bit more, so this is where Nate Miller should be able to make something happen. He became a better fighter once he won the championship, which so often happens. It doesn't make sense usually, but boxers really do get better in most cases. Before that, even in the losses against Al Cole, which we televised on ESPN, he was lethargic like this, didn't do enough to win there. Some of the fans are a little restless as well. Oh, nice chopping right by Norris on the inside. Neither man has been able to really be very accurate with their punches either. They've been just off.
We started the night with 1996 Olympic gold medalist in the heavyweight division, Vladimir Klitschko, the 22-year-old from the Ukraine, scoring a 6th-round TKO against Carlos Monroe. 21-year-old Baton Rouge native Donovan Carey scored a 4-round featherweight win against Alvin Brown to remain undefeated. And the Bluebirds are out.
Well, this crowd was ready to have a good time here tonight. So, and in theory, it's true. This matchup on paper looked like a really, really good one. It just hasn't quite lived up to it. And see, as quickly as they booed, they cheered because Orlin Norris landed a good shot. And I'm going to tell you, and I've said this many, many times, the best boxing fans in America, I think, are on the Gulf Coast area. They're very into bouts. They want to have a good time. And if you give them any semblance of a decent fight, they will cheer. And they will come out for fights, as evidenced by this crowd.
Right now, Orlin Norris and Nate Miller have not given them much to cheer about, although Norris continues to control this bout. A lot of clutching and grabbing.
Punch out of this. Come on, punch out of this.
To this point, I highly doubt this one will make Big Fights Boxing Hour years from now.
No, and you know, the interesting thing is, nice right hand by Miller. Here we are in round 8 again. And here's Miller doing what he did before. Wow.
Well, he has just come out on the attack and some chopping rights and lefts. And he has Norris finally on the retreat.
It's as if he was waiting and said, all right, this is exactly what I did in the last bout. I'm going to try it again. Wow, that is fascinating. Orlin Norris better respond here. He's getting whacked with big shots. Is he tired again? He shouldn't be.
Well, he said the loss of 40 pounds. It's the last time, and now Norris answering.
Well, Nate Miller got careless, and Orlin Norris says, hey, I still have a punch. And all of a sudden, it got exciting to this crowd and to us.
Late power. Miller has 7 knockouts past the 6th round. Norris has 6 knockouts past the 6th round, so they can take you out as the fight goes on.
You know, Orlin Norris, when he stepped down in the cruiserweight division, when he was on and when he was ready, was a destroyer. The 2 exceptions were the Arthur Williams fight in which he defended his title in a decision that truthfully Williams probably won. Then he came back to knock out Williams, and the other exception was the loss to Miller. But beyond that, when he stepped down in weight, Orlin Norris knocked people out.
They're going to fix some tape on the left glove of Orlin Norris and the right glove as well.
And there is Cornelius Bowes-Edwards again.
And the fans upset with referee Johnny Femia Jr. because the best action of the bout has taken place in this 8th round. Let's take a look at the beginning of the round.
Here's where Nate Miller came out. And finally, there's the right hand from outside. And he went after Orlin Norris, landed some pretty big shots early, but Norris came back himself.
Nice work by producer John Francis, Anthony Giordano for getting us those pictures in between during the round.
As they do every week. Miller starting to find the range with that right hand, but he has thrown so few of them. And he's going to have to put a lot of them together. You saw he couldn't get Norris down with those shots he threw. And, nice right hand again on the inside. This has been Nate Miller's best round by far in the bout.
Look at the numbers through 2 minutes of this round, Al.
Well, and Miller is leading only by 2, but he's landing more than he's landed in previous rounds, that's for sure.
And his busiest round.
Norris getting in with that short little left hook.
Well, so far, the best round of the fight has been round number 8. Let's hope that round 9 is even better. Welcome back to ESPN's Championship Boxing from the Grand Casino of Hoyles in Marksville, Louisiana. Bob Papa along with Al Bernstein. We begin round number 9, and Nate Miller comes out and attacks Orlin Norris as he did in round number 8. Neither man has been down. Neither man has been hurt. The first 7 rounds, or at least 6 of the first 7 rounds, were easily in Norris's favor. But Miller has rebounded.
There are the total punches that have been thrown in this fight over 8 rounds. 359 by Orlin Norris. Now, he averaged about 60 punches per round against Adolfo Washington. He's averaging, what, 44 here now?
Yeah, almost 45.
Almost 45 in this bout. So clearly, there is a lot less punches coming from Orlin Norris.
And Miller averaging 49 punches thrown per round.
So those are more heavyweight numbers, and of course they're basically heavyweights. They're fighting as small heavyweights. So Orlin Norris was much busier against Washington, and I thought much sharper.
I know I was impressed with you, man.
Hey, well, no, you helped me. I'm going to tell America. I didn't do that on my own. You helped me out a little bit. I don't want to take away your laurels as the math expert, the whiz here on ESPN Boxing.
Now, Al,
among your many talents, I should add.
Here's my question for you. In round 7 and round number 8, Nate Miller came out, especially to start round number 8, throwing punches, using the jab, the right hand. He's reverted now back to his earlier form. How does that happen?
Well, he just, for some reason, once he didn't get it done in round 8, that was it. In his mind, he said, oh boy, I'm going back to where I was. Why it would happen, I have no idea. That is not the way Nate Miller's going to win the fight. Norris lands the right hand as Miller poses. He's facing, it is interesting, both these guys, you have to be honest, since their 90-95 fight, have slipped a bit. But this is the first I've seen really Norris with his timing off this badly. But for Nate Miller, the Teozo fight apparently was the beginning of it, and here with the long layoff, he just hasn't been sharp.
Hey, get your head off of me.
And the fans again voice their displeasure. They just don't like the pace at which this bout has been fought. And it hasn't been pleasing from a style standpoint.
Round number 9 coming to its end. Back to Louisiana after this timeout on ESPN's Championship Boxing. Look over the corner of Nate Miller as he gets ready for round 10 against Orlin Norris. And Al, his corner gave him a little tongue lashing.
They did. They told him, you know, you've got to step back, throw the right hand, throw the uppercut, then step back and throw the right. They said, you cannot win by decision here. You have got to get to this guy.
They look at their average rounds per fight. But as their careers have moved on, the length of a bout will expand.
Well, that tells you why they don't think their man is winning. If Miller is losing the battle of the jab by 8 punches to Orlin Norris, he's got to be losing the fight because he's the stand-up boxer from the outside. He should be winning the battle of the jab.
Al's scorecard, 88-83, all Norris.
I have Norris winning pretty handily, and in the last round, Norris outlanded by only 4 or 5 punches, but in a fight like this, outlanding by 4 or 5 will get the job done for you. I'm a big believer that when certain styles are in place, if you look at the punch profile numbers, they tell you a lot. For instance, if a guy like Miller is losing the battle of the jab to a guy who's supposed to be fighting on the inside and getting on the inside, that tells you that probably Miller is losing the fight because that's the big punch for him. Like the Hagler-Leonard fight. I'll never forget that one. The punch numbers clearly showed that Leonard lost the battle of the jabs to Hagler, and to me, that was a sign that Hagler really won that fight. Of course, it didn't go that way in the record books. And by the way, who's Nate Miller's idol? Marvin Hagler, who we saw last week in Boston.
Get off his head, get off his head. Don't punch.
Well, he needs to get busy like Hagler, and there's the jab that started off a sequence in which he lands the combination.
Get off his head.
This bout is different than the Norris-Washington bout, which was, while it wasn't a wild brawl, they somehow meshed more in terms of their punches landing, and that also was a rematch, of course, for Orlin Norris. This has, style-wise, not matched up well.
Get off his head. Get off his head.
And the two boxers have partially made that happen because they have, their efforts have not been as consistent as they'd like.
Two men just plod along to the end of round 10.
Look at the inaccuracy of Norris. He just isn't able to get that overhand right in, or the jab, or the left hook.
Two championship rounds still to come. Norris and Miller. It is always a pleasure to be at the Grand Casino of Oils in Marksville, Louisiana. Bob Papa along with Al Bernstein on ESPN's Championship Boxing. Now, the fans here are really loyal fans.
I'm going to tell you, are they enthusiastic? And here, you know, it has not been, let's be honest, a scintillating night of boxing. Although I have to say, more interesting than our show on the Deuce earlier this week in Boston. But nevertheless, they're still excited, and there's the last round. Now here's Nate Miller doing what he did in round 8, coming after Orlin Norris.
Well, his corner told him, look, Norris is going to try to hold and move around. You have to push him off, and you have to take him out because you will not win a decision.
The interesting thing is that Nate Miller has allowed Norris to do it, and he's participated in it. It's not like Orlin Norris has come in and just clutched and grabbed and made it happen. Miller has been a willing participant in that style. Look, jab and a straight right hand. Go figure. You stand a little, you stand at your distance, you're Nate Miller, and you throw a jab and a straight right, and at least you got a chance to win this fight.
You know, Norris will look to hold on. Early in the fight, Norris was pushing Miller off. Try to get some punching him, and he does do it right there.
See, Nate Miller has twice in his career, he's been fortunate. Twice in his career, he's been in against an Orlin Norris that has not performed up to Orlin Norris' standards. The first time because of the weight loss and the heat, and this time for whatever reason. Orlin Norris isn't sharp here tonight. And Nate Miller the first time took advantage of it just barely because he was behind in that fight. And tonight he hasn't taken advantage of it.
A little chant of Miller in the crowd, the Philadelphia native, I guess because he has the better potential to maybe knock out Norris. Fans just want to see some action.
You know, Johnny Femia has done the right thing by letting them fight on the inside. They haven't been mostly holding and clinched up. So he's loath to get in there and break them, but they just haven't done that much. Orlin backing up, never a good posture for him. And Miller, if he would use that jab and a straight right, I have to say he could have made this a much, much more interesting fight.
It wasn't a very aggressive jab there either. You saw Norris just sort of flick it away.
This could very well end up being a decision win for Orlin Norris, but it will not be one he will savor. And it is one of the first times I've seen his skill level erode a little bit. Whether that's a permanent erosion remains to be seen.
And now Norris on his horse as we head to the end of the 11th round.
Touching gloves on the way out, okay? Touching gloves. That's going to come out firing. Get ready. The jobs fall off, okay? Don't let that fall. Don't let that punch the hole. You hear it? Every time you hit him, you stop.
Seconds out. Seconds out. First the 12th and final round.
Cornelius Boza Edwards pleased with Norris's performance, and you heard Miller's corner say every time you hit him, you stop.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And he just has not been aggressive enough, Nate Miller. Certainly not throwing punches, combinations very often. See if they can, what they can make happen here in round 12.
Take a look at the punch numbers through 11 rounds.
Orlin Norris with a pretty hefty edge there. Even though he has thrown some 32 punches less than Nate Miller. This crowd getting excited. They want to make something happen here.
Al scorecard through 11 rounds.
I have Norris ahead 106-103. Miller's made a little mini comeback here, but I agree with his corner. He's not going to win a decision if it goes that far. A little chopping right hand on the inside. See, Nate Miller could back up. There's nothing preventing him from backing up here. He's laying in with Orlin Norris just as much as Norris is, and again, they will look at the tape on Norris's glove.
Now Cornelius Boza Edwards will undo the tape.
Come on, guys.
The white tape does not work. We've talked about that a million times. You need the heavy-duty silver or black tape, the electrical tape, or the duct tape. When the white tape gets wet, even when fresh tape is put on, the moisture just makes it come right off. Again, the grapple against the ropes.
This is really this bout in microcosm. On paper, looking at this, it looked like it would be certainly more of an intriguing matchup. And they had its moments, principally in round 8, but primarily it has not been that pleasing.
Come in. Let's go, guys. Let's box. Let's box. Let him go. Break! He breaks the back. Get off him, Marlon.
It's just been a very sloppy performance from Nate Miller. Just not following his game plan. He said, and he told us that he would use the jab. Everything will work off the jab, and it should be an easy fight for me. It has not been.
He hasn't used that punch or the straight right as much as he would like. And from Orlin Norris' standpoint, there's a nice left hook. Orlin has been off his game. I think he would be the first to admit it. He's a real honest guy. He's good at assessing what he's done in the ring.
Watch your head, man. Watch your head, man, Orlin. Break! Keep your head up. Keep your head up. Got me? Let's go.
Norris pushing Miller off.
What Orlin Norris hasn't shown us tonight, and he had it in most cruiserweight fights, was that, to quote Marvin Hagler, the destruct and destroy mode.
The fans not pleased here in Marksville, Louisiana. But Orlin Norris probably will be. There's the bell to end it. We will have the judge's decision when we return after this timeout. Bob Papa along with Al Bernstein. Let's take a look at the final punch stats for the main event.
You take a look at the edge that Orlin Norris had. He threw less punches but was more accurate. And a lot of those were body punches, but still you have to believe that his aggressiveness would get it.
Well, the judges are tallying their cards. Nate Miller did not necessarily follow his game plan. Get a look at Don Turner in his corner.
For Nate Miller, an effort that I know strategically wasn't really what he wanted. Perhaps physically he couldn't put that plan into effect.
Well, be sure to join us on Sunday night for ESPN2 Sunday Night Boxing live from Columbus, Ohio. IBA Cruiserweight Champion Kenny King defends his title against Dominic Carter. Headlines 2 hours of live boxing action Sunday night on the Deuce beginning at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. ESPN2 Sunday Night Boxing. We are set for the judge's decision. Here's our ring announcer, Mark Vero.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the decision of the 3 judges at ringside. Judge Paul Sita scores it 115-114. Judge Elmo Adolph scores it 116-112. And Judge Kenny Santos scores it 117-111 to the winner by unanimous decision and IBA Super Cruiserweight Champion of the World, Orlin Norris.
Well, Orlin Norris gets his win. It was not his best performance, but it was enough for him to beat Nate Miller, who definitely came in without his A game. And Miller at age 35 has to rethink where he's at. And Orlin Norris needs to pick up the tempo the next time out.
Yeah, Judge Paul Sita had it pretty close, 115-114. He gave the last 5 rounds to Nate Miller, but Orlin Norris is a winner, and he keeps his IBA Super Cruiserweight Championship. Earlier tonight, Vladimir Klitschko, a 6th-round TKO against Carlos Monroe, and Donovan Carey, a unanimous decision. Orlin Norris has kept his title with a win against Nate Miller. As you see Vladimir Klitschko, the winner from the Ukraine, going to 21 And Donovan Carey 12-0 with a unanimous decision, and Orlin Norris a winner. Coming up next on ESPN, Baseball Tonight with Carl Ravitch, Harold Leonard, and Tim Kurkjian. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader.